Leading footballers and reality television stars are to be banned from advertising gambling. The advertising watchdog says the new rules, which come into force in October, will protect children. Let's speak to James Grimes. He's a recovering gambling addict and a founder of The Big Step, which is a campaign to end gambling advertising in football. James, thank you very much. We'll talk about your experience in a moment, but what's your view of this change that's been announced?
Good afternoon. Yeah, I think it's a positive, small step in the right direction, which will really start to denormalize gambling to a generation of young people who have just been bombarded with gambling messaging and marketing. But probably more relevantly to this story is it will start to de-glamorize gambling to young people. If you see Peter Crouch, Harry Redknapp, Jose Mourinho in adverts for gambling, those companies are completely legitimized. People think these are completely safe, trustworthy household names. And gambling companies should have never been household names. And footballers should have never promoted products that we associate with addiction, that cause addiction, and sometimes suicide. So it's a positive move, but we'd advocate for government and for football itself to go a lot further.
How much further, though? Because gambling is a legitimate activity.
Gambling is a legitimate activity, but 20, 30 years ago, gambling was a legitimate activity then without this complete normalization and saturation of our screens. I think people would have seen this news today and thought, this is good news because people are fed up of the level of gambling advertising that we have to put up with, not just in football, but across society. And seeing celebrities, multimillionaires, promote a product that they know will be causing harm to people, it is deeply irresponsible. And people were able to gamble if they wanted to before advertising, and it's just gone too far. And that is why the Gambling Act is currently being reviewed, because more and more people are being harmed, and young people are the collateral damage of this. We've already got 55,000 children addicted to gambling in this country, and I really fear that we're storing up problems for a whole generation of young people like myself at 16 who just thought gambling was this normal, risk-free, innocent activity. But millions of us harmed by gambling, including families bereaved by gambling-related suicide, know that it can be quite the opposite of that.
I believe it's 4 years today since you had your last bet. It's also your birthday, and you had a gambling disorder, an addiction, for 12 years. Congratulations on the 4 years and also on your birthday. How did you stop?
That's thank you, and I didn't think at that point in my life that I'd see 32 years old, to be honest. And as much as I want to celebrate the fact I'm 4 years in recovery, I am painfully reminded of the fact that so many aren't here to talk about this campaign or talk here today to celebrate their recovery, because gambling takes hundreds of lives every year, and families that are left behind, and these are preventable deaths. I stopped from a really low moment. It took me to the brink of not wanting to be here anymore, and I had no option. It was either take my own life or stop gambling. And fortunately, touch wood, I stopped gambling and have stayed stopped. And it was a case of not watching football for a few months, sadly, because I was just getting triggered by the amount of advertising. I couldn't watch a football match without wanting to put a bet on. But there was so much, there wasn't a lot of support out there at the moment, at the time, but there is now. Gam ban and Gam stop, both block and ban yourself from gambling, which was a really important. But I would stress to anyone that is struggling, if you've got a gambling disorder, you need specialist addiction treatment.
And what would you say to family members as well who are concerned about a relative, particularly a child, somebody under 18 who seems to be too invested in this activity?
I think for young people, it would be discourage them at all costs, because the stakes are just really too high. The brain doesn't fully develop until 25 years old. I didn't need to be using addictive products at 16, 17, 18 years old. And I would also, if you've got a family member that is struggling with gambling, please don't blame them. Please don't think that this is all their own fault. A lot of the reason this happens is because of the sheer amount of advertising, is because we have products that are designed to cause addiction, is because gambling is not treated as a public health issue in this country. So that all of that combined with the responsible gambling narrative, making you feel like it's all your control, all your individual responsibility, is leading to that point where people don't feel like they can seek help or they don't want to seek help. And that's why there are so many needless deaths related to gambling suicide. But there is hope, there is help out there. And I would encourage everyone to really think about what gambling and the normalization of gambling is doing to young minds up and down this country.
James Grimes, founder of The Big Step. Thank you very much. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.